There is a bit of a buzz about this cocktail. Let me show you how to make a Bourbon Bee. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm the whiskey nerd, and like I said, there's a bit of a buzz about this cocktail because today I'm making a Bourbon Bee. This is a fantastic little kind of riff on a classic whiskey sour, but it uses a few different ingredients to keep things fresh. I got the recipe for this cocktail from my friend David from Booze on the Rocks. I'll put a link to his channel up there. I'll put a link down below because if you're not familiar with his channel, you should definitely check it out because he makes cocktails for everyone, and this is definitely one of those cocktails. If you're maybe not too fond of that classic whiskey sour because it's got that lemon juice, it can be a bit sharp, this is a bit softer. It doesn't have any egg white as well, so if you're vegan or if you just don't like using egg white in a cocktail, it won't have any egg white, but it will still have a nice foamy top up on top of the cocktail for a really great presentation. It of course uses whiskey. In this case I'm using Koval's bourbon from Chicago. Koval are a great organic distillery in Chicago, and their bourbon is actually very nice, and it comes in at 47% alcohol by volume, so it does have a nice amount of weight in there. It also has a bit of Aperol to give a bit of bitterness, some pineapple juice, some lemon juice, some honey syrup, which is just 2 parts honey, 1 part warm water, mix around until you get a nice little syrup like that, and then 2 dashes of Angostura bitters to really round things out. And the pineapple juice is where we get that foamy head, because if you're not used to shaking pineapple juice, when you shake it, it actually will give you a nice foamy head, and you'll see that when I make the cocktail. Speaking of making the cocktail, it's time we make it. Like I said, it is going to be a shake and drink, so we're going to get our shaker tin and we're going to pop a nice rock of ice into there, and then we're going to go to measure out our ingredients. We're going to start off with our Aperol. That's going to be 15 ml or half an ounce of Aperol into our shaker tin. Aperol is this nice kind of slightly bitter, slightly sweet Italian aperitif. It's not as bitter or tart or dry as Campari, so I like using it in cocktails where you need something like that, where it gives a little bit of sweetness, but it also gives you those kind of herbal botanical notes that the recipe calls for. Next up, it's going to be our bourbon, which is going to be 60 ml or 2 ounces of our bourbon into there. So it's going to be nice and kind of boozy. It's not going to be overly strong because we are going to be using a lot of fruit juice in there just to kind of balance things out, but that bourbon is going to give us a nice amount of flavor and will stand up in the final recipe. Next up, we're going to go in with our pineapple juice, and we're going to go in with 30 ml or 1 ounce of nice fresh pineapple juice. We're going to go in with that nice amount of pineapple juice, and that will give us a nice foamy frothy head, but to give us those classic kind of whiskey sour vibes, we're also going to go in with some lemon juice. We're going to go in with 3/4 of an ounce, so just a little bit shy of that 1 ounce that we went in with the pineapple juice of the lemon juice, and that's going to make sure we do have that kind of classic sour vibe into our cocktail. Because it's quite sweet, because we're using a lot of fruit juices, because we have that Aperol in there which is quite sweet, we're only going to go in with 15 ml or half an ounce of our honey syrup, because otherwise the cocktail will probably be a bit too sweet. But if you do like sweet cocktails, you might go in with 20 ml of honey syrup just to kind of round things out and make it a little bit sweeter for yourself. Lastly, it's 2 dashes, 1, 2 of Angostura bitters, just classic, like your classic salt and pepper seasoning for any cocktail. Next, we're going to bang the top on our shaker tin and shake it for about 30 seconds. Okay, I think that is nicely chilled now, so we're going to bang the top off our cocktail shaker and we're going to strain it out. Now we're going to strain it into a nice chilled coupe so that the cocktail will stay as cold as possible for as long as possible. Just going to pop our strainer up top and pour it out just like that. Just look at that. That is a very nice looking cocktail. Like I said, because we have that fresh pineapple juice, it's going to have a little bit of foam, so we're going to let that settle for just a second. And while we wait for this to settle, if you're new here, scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. I put out whiskey cocktails every Friday. I put out whiskey reviews every Wednesday. So if you want to see cocktails featuring whiskey or whiskey reviews, make sure you hit subscribe. And if you're interested in finding out how to make other cocktails that aren't just all about whiskey, check out David from Booze on the Rocks, where I got this recipe. Now, let's just let it settle for another second. Okay, I think that is about as settled as it's gonna get. For a garnish, I'm not gonna go in with a garnish because I do like the look of this as it is with that nice foamy head up top. One thing to note about pineapple foam, it won't last forever. So if you are presenting this, maybe get it and drink it pretty quickly because that foam doesn't stick around forever. But let's taste this cocktail. Cheers. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that is very nice. The bourbon is noticeable. It's definitely, as I said, it comes in at 47% ABV, has a nice bit of weight, has a nice bit of kind of depth and richness, and that does come through to the cocktail. You get the oak spice, you get the little bit of kind of the kind of peanutty, sweet vanilla notes, but then you also get that pineapple juice, that lemon juice, the Aperol comes through, and at the end of it, rounding things out, making things not too citrusy, not too bitter, you get that little bit of honey syrup, just making the cocktail feel kind of nice and rich and, well, kind of honeyed. Just a very nice cocktail. If you are a fan of whiskey sours and you want to try something new, give this one a try. If you aren't a fan of whiskey sours but you want to find a sour that you might like, give this one a try because it's very different. It's a bit familiar but quite different and a very, very enjoyable cocktail. So I'm going to keep on enjoying this and I will see you next time. Sláinte.